Dead Space is one of those AAA horror games that has a fame that follows it. Throughout the years, I have heard many good things about this franchise. On January of 2023, the remake of this classic horror game was released, and I decided to check it out. Hi everyone, my name is Jeremy, and this is my non-spoiler review for Dead Space Remake for the PS5. It is important to point out that this review will be from the perspective of someone who has never played the original. This game was developed by Motive and published by Electronic Arts. Dead Space follows the story of Isaac Clarke, an engineer on a mission to repair a vast mining ship, the USG Ishimura. When he and his crew reach the ship, they discover that something has gone horribly wrong. The ship's crew has been slaughtered, and Isaac's couple, who was a doctor in the ship, has disappeared. Now it is up to you to figure out what happened, survive the horror that lies before you, and escape. The story presentation of Dead Space is excellent. The story is told through fully voice-acted cutscenes, documents that you can read for context and world building, and voice-acted voice logs that you find throughout the game. The voice acting is very good, giving life to the characters and the struggle they are facing. In what regards to the visuals of the game, Dead Space features some realistic, high-fidelity sci-fi visuals. The game was remade to have visuals on par to games of this generation, and they nailed it. Character models look excellent. Facial animations are very good, and the environment is a masterclass example of how to design sci-fi horror scenarios. Every inch of the environment is filled with gory details that let you know that something horrible happened there. There are messages written in the walls and bodies scattered throughout to add to the horror feel of the setting. The level design is excellent. Every area has a uniform feel because they are part of the same ship, but at the same time they are distinct enough and are visually interesting to explore. The lighting is one of the standout points of the visuals. The lights and shadows add to the horror feel of the game and add a layer of caution to the gameplay, making you stay on your toes in case enemies appear. The game has minimal to no user interface as you are playing for maximum immersion. You can see Isaac's health on his back, and obviously you can open menus to check other things, but while you are playing, there's nothing on screen. On the PlayStation 5, I played the game on performance mode and did not notice any frame rate drops at all. The game ran at a stable 60 frames per second. It is important to point out that the game features a lot of setting options, being among them the accessibility options, to better adjust your experience playing through the game. In what regards to the music, the game's music adds to the tense horror atmosphere, with atmospheric music that you can feel as you are playing through the game. Audio design is quite good too. It adds another layer to the gameplay experience because audio cues are key to knowing when enemies are near, and in the darkness, it is your only reliable source of information. So let's talk about the gameplay. Dead Space is a third-person survival horror game, and it is played with an over-the-shoulder camera. The game focuses on story, exploration, and fighting. You will have to search the environment carefully to find key items to open new paths and move the story forward. The story has a central role in the gameplay experience, and it is layered carefully throughout the game, guiding the gameplay experience without feeling like you're on a linear path all the time, and giving the player space to explore and find optional items. In terms of the action and fighting of this game, you have melee attacks, multiple guns, and other gadgets that help you not only fight but solve puzzles too. The main distinguishing mechanic of the gameplay of this game is that there is a focus on shooting off the limbs of the monsters you face. Your main gun, for example, has a feature where it can shoot horizontally or vertically, so you can strategically adjust to the enemies you are fighting. You can stomp on enemies to get additional items, and you have multiple gadgets that you find throughout the game. These gadgets play an essential role in the fights, and they are used to interact with the environment equipment to open new paths and continue the story. The game features a store and upgrade system too. In the store, you can buy consumable items like healing items and ammo, and you can buy more permanent items like upgrades to your armor, among many other things. You buy these with credits that you find throughout the game. You can upgrade your armor and weapon stats in the bench. Here you can use nodes, which are items that function like skill points that you can invest in the upgrades. The upgrades are presented in a graph, and you can upgrade your stats following the paths on the graph, meaning that you can only upgrade a stat in the adjacent spaces. There are sections of the game where you will enter zero gravity and vacuum zones. In zero gravity zones, you will be able to fly around, and in vacuum zones, you will have a limited amount of oxygen to explore. Vacuum zones usually are zero gravity zones as well, but there are zero gravity zones that are not vacuum zones. You can increase your maximum oxygen through upgrades, and you can refill it by getting out of the vacuum zone or by recharging at oxygen stations. In regards to the enemies, there's a really good variety, and they all look horrifying and feel very different to fight. That space is around 11 to 12 hours long, and it is divided in 12 chapters. The developers revealed on Twitter that the game has a new game plus and a secret ending. So let's talk about the cons and the pros of this game. Let's start with the cons. I think the first thing I would have to point out is that there's a lack of a dodge, backstab, or turn mechanic. Enemies can get very close to you very fast. When they are close to you, you are at a disadvantage because you can't hit their limbs. A back step or a 180-degree turn would have helped with this. Secondly is the audio design. The audio design is good, but could have been better. The audio design is a key part of the gameplay of Dead Space, and despite it being good, it is not perfect. There were times when enemies would appear without any sound cues. However, I do have to recognize that it didn't happen often. And I do have to point out that these shortcomings that I'm pointing out are minimal, are very minimal to the experience of the game, because in general, they affected my experience very little. So let's talk about the strong points of this game. I have to point out two things. First of all, the visuals. The visual fidelity, sci-fi aesthetics, and the lighting is outstanding in this game, and it really makes it a visual delight. And secondly, the gameplay. The gameplay is fun and solid. The controls are super responsive. The action, set pieces, and enemy encounters are very well designed and never feel overwhelming or unbalanced. Gameplay mechanics are diverse, fun, and interesting, and keep the gameplay loop fresh throughout the entire experience. In conclusion, Dead Space Remake is an outstanding entry in the plethora of remakes that we have received throughout recent years. Its incredible visuals, sci-fi setting, and engaging and fun gameplay make it a solid grab for any horror gamer out there. For this reason, I highly recommend Dead Space Remake. So that's going to be it for my non-spoiler review. Dead Space Remake is available for PS5, Xbox, and PC. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. Hi everyone, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel to keep up to date with our content.